Hi folks, welcome back to Cliffside. I haven't played for a few days. I've been busy working on the Ruins mod, but I wanted to get back and work my village through its first winter. So here I am at our very small village and looking forward to developing this. You know, I use the winter time to do some construction projects usually, and let's hope this winter is a good one. First thing that I noticed when I opened the game is that I have another stuck villager down at the water. This villager is working inside the tower, so I'm going to go ahead and free them up by placing a piece of the terrain mod. I'm going to go ahead and probably just actually leave this piece of terrain here after I place it because I've been having so many issues with people getting stuck down here. I guess I haven't played this map for a while, so I hadn't realized how shallow the shoreline is. So if I place that in there, I'm hoping that that person will get unstuck. Okay. Maybe she wasn't stuck after all, but I'll leave that there just in case there's an issue. And let's go ahead and put a forbidden zone around it so that my fishing boats don't go in. I suppose that's something I'll do right along that shore, is to kind of raise it up a bit above the waves and make sure that we can start building some buildings there. It looks like people are accessing that area with no issues now. I'm into the winter. It's the midwinter fast, so all of my workers are basically on holiday. Although it's not a happy holiday because they have to fast, meaning go without food. But things are going well. I've renamed this little area over here Trout Creek. We've started to expand our fishing fleet in this area. There's not a lot of fish in the water here, but we'll do the best we can. We have a decent amount of food going into the winter. We were able to borrow 200 bread, or get 200 bread from the king in exchange for 10 influence, so that was useful to stock up for winter. We have quite a few vegetables stocked up. We need to get those into the granary. They filled up in one of the houses here that was growing vegetables, so I need to get those in so that we can produce a bit more vegetables there. Of course, during the winter, you're not going to get much production. It looks like we have a fuel issue again, where all the fuel has been used up. What happens during winter is people need a lot more fuel, so it looks like we may have lost our fuel monger as well. Oh, that's right, I actually fired the fuel monger because they were using too much wood. Because I have a wood shortage, and I have a wood shortage because I'm building so many houses. Can't seem to keep ahead of that, even though I have 3 lumber camps going. There was a rebalancing of the wood production in the previous game release about a month ago, and it's possible that that's caused some issues there. I've got a new granary here, so I have the opportunity to make a decision whether I indenture to the king. Now, I actually think I will do this because it's saying for 60 days your production will go down by 10% in exchange for 5 influence. And during the winter, I'm not producing much anyway. The only real impact that might have is on wood, which is in short supply, but I'm willing to do that to get a little bit of influence from the king. That'll get me out of the hole, or close to out of the hole with the king. So my debt to him will be paid, and then hopefully I can get more influence to get additional stuff. Alright, I've got another tower in security, and I need to populate this granary. So let's take a quick look at the different foods that I have. I actually have quite a bit of food going on here. In this granary on the left, I've got vegetables, berries, game, and bread. So on the right hand side, I'm going to stock fish. What else am I missing? Eggs. I really should stock eggs over here, which is the main poultry producing area, but no matter. So, is that all my berries? I have fish, yes. Eggs, yes. Poultry, I do not have poultry, so let's go ahead and add them. Some workers in here. And vegetables. So I've got vegetables here, and I've got game. Alright, so we might go ahead, since I know I'm going to be producing a lot of vegetables next year, I'll probably save this little slot here for vegetables. And hide all of those. Now I'm noticing that I have lots of dung again after I stopped using that for fuel, so I think because I'm having a fuel shortage, I'm going to switch my fuel monger back to dung. So during the winter time, use twice as much fuel. Well, 50% more fuel. So it's important to keep an eye on that. Okay, so I built a new well. Yeah, people are complaining about fuel. That's fine, we'll get that fixed in a minute. So we've got the dung being brought to the fuel cart. Now dung doesn't produce a lot of fuel, so you see he uses a lot of dung to produce not much fuel. But it's far better than using the wood at this point. I've also got extra hunters running out of this house here, so these folks are hunting in this woodland here and over here. Just because during the winter time, game or boar produces a lot more, 50% more, so it's important if you do have the opportunity to hunt to perhaps build up that supply. You can always sell it as food. It's not a very efficient food, it takes a long time to produce, but you could also save it for when you have a tavern. And either way, whether I use it as food or save it for my tavern, I'd like to build up that supply of boar while I have the opportunity. I also had some extra labor, so I might as well use that for hunting, since I don't have any other jobs for those people to do. Alright, so planks are full, which means that the carpenters aren't working anyway. So I can see my lumber industry is doing pretty well. We've cleared quite a bit of this valley here for farming in the spring, which is important. Although this lumber camp is going to become isolated and less effective, but that's alright. We can continue to clear this area. And then this area is sort of renewable because the forester is replanting all the time. You can see the little trees there. So that those stumps, where all those stumps are, will grow back. Let's do a security check. So we're back to green security after the fast, which is good. I'm just questioning, it's possible that this fishing hut here will be outside of this tower's security zone. We may need to send a patrol out that way once that's built, but we're really constrained with tools. We've only 2 tools left, and we have no influence available to unlock the trading post, which is our only way in this game of getting tools. The other way would be to build a warehouse, which we also don't have influence enough for. But that method, you're going to get, 1 or 2 tools every week. Not a lot. But it would help us because we're not going to be able to build anything until we can get tools. Things are quite constrained at the moment. I can see that I've used up all the dung already. So we probably need to switch back to wood supply. We're really taking forever to build these houses. We've only a couple of builders. They're only able to work on one house at a time. So I'm hoping that some of these houses are being built. This one's never been touched. It's been there for months, not being built. What else are they building? So we've only 14 days left of winter. Feels like it's been a short winter. Probably because we didn't have a major crisis. Fuel is back up. Housing is starting to recede as an issue, which is great. So we should exit into the spring with decent food supplies, decent housing. Alright, gold from the king will lose influence, increased work hours will lose influence, and encouraging immigration has no influence impact, but it will mean more people arriving. I don't think that's going to be an issue. Really, right now, we need influence. First, let's get those people working. We lost a constable. Go ahead and refill these jobs. And we'll use markers mod. A little marker on this hill. So whenever I start naming things, I usually just give them really straightforward names. And then later, I change the names. So when I'm naming geographic features, often I'll use the smaller font. And then once this becomes something like a castle, then of course I can make the font bigger and rename it. And over here on the hill that we're using for wood, here I call it Wood Hill. Maybe call it Beechwood. Not that we have any beaches. Just give a little bit of sense of place to where we're dealing with. Now we do own this valley here, and I do intend to name this Let's go ahead and do that. Just put this by the berries here. So I have high hopes for this valley. This is where many of my farms will be built. So Hope Valley. Well, our village itself is still quite small. We have more houses built here in the little wood where we were hunting, which now is not going to be much good for hunting. All these people running around, scaring away the animals, but it's a nice place for houses because it's very central to the town. And I suppose as the town develops, we're going to build housing all along the shore, including some warehouse districts. We'll be building some terrain mod type modifications to improve the water side. No access to fuel. We're really struggling with wood. That'll improve when spring comes. We won't need as much fuel. The dovecotes do not require tools, and the stone one, we have lots of stone. So let's build a couple dovecotes. Perhaps one down by the water. Advantage of all this open space. Stick it right here. Second one. So doves fly away. So going into spring, what's going to be producing well will be poultry and eggs. Berries don't produce until summer, vegetables not until summer, fish all year round, so really we need to focus on poultry at the moment and get our farms built for the summer so that we have those ready to go as soon as summer hits. So perhaps another poultry tower over here, just to make sure we can fully take advantage of that. Slow rise there. We're really constrained in building materials, but also the number of builders. We've only 2 builders. It's tough to make anything happen when you've only 2 builders. No access to food. Okay, so our food has run out. Let's take a look. Fish being sold, which is 0, and eggs. So let's switch this one over to poultry. And the fish one, let's switch it over to vegetables. Should see those draining from the granaries. Alright, it's spring. Super. So we made it through very well. In fact, I would say that's the best first winter I have ever had. It's not easy to get through that winter. So let's promote a few folks of the new people that arrived. And let's get started. So the grass is green, life is good. Hope Valley is starting to open up. What I want to do up here is kind of keep the housing to the hillside. Use all of that nice flattish land for farming. It's great to see so many stumps there. Those should clear soon. We need to really clear this area out. We do have it marked for extraction, but it's a little bit far away, so that woodcutters are kind of spending their time going all around the valley. If we had tools, we would build another woodcutter here and clear this forest, but that's going to have to wait. Got loads of people arriving. Nothing for them to do. Some outlaws in prison as well to become new villagers, so we've got a few poultry farms a building, but that's not going to use up a lot of our workers that are arriving. You know, I think I'll let it keep going. I don't have an issue with outlaws at the moment. Even if outlaws, you know, if the unemployed people become outlaws, they're not going to be able to steal anything because everything is fully secured at this point. So I think I'll let the immigrants come, and if they become outlaws, then we'll convert them back to law-abiding citizens at some point. They compared to when I came in to start playing today, It's starting to fill out a little bit. You know, it was a pretty straggly looking little village before. We're starting to get a main residential zone here. The hedge planting is going well, so you can see that the town looks much better with a few trees around. And as those grow, those will look very nice. Let's go ahead and make sure that I don't extract those. Yeah, I have no extraction zone here, and I have no woodcutters anywhere close to this, so we'll be fine. I do like to see a few trees around the edges of the fields. That looks much better. Fuel is still an issue. Wood is an issue. I feel like after the game changes that happened in 1.8 and my own mod changes, that the wood production is just a little bit too slow still. I know that I'm building houses, but it feels like with 3 woodcutters in such a small village, I ought to be able to keep ahead of the wood supply. We'll give it another year in-game, and we may end up adjusting the balancing for realism mod again. Alright, we've 10 unemployed, my goodness. One person who can work in that dovecote. Let's just make sure that they're secure here. Alright, so our guards are playing hooky. What's going on here? We haven't been out there for a while, so we're red. Not ideal. Where are you folks? Maybe they both went on break at the same time. There is a grace period with security so that if guards don't visit a place for a while, so you can see they're back at work and we're starting to go orange. Guards don't visit for a while. There's I think it's a 2-week grace period so that, you know, workers won't immediately become outlaws if a place is left unsecured. We're back to green now. So it was just a lull between shifts, I suppose. I'm feeling like I may be out of food again. Look at my happiness meter. Yeah, there's a food shortage again. But only the two markets working. So let's get berries sold. Use up some of those berries. And then let's switch one of these to eggs. You'd think, you know, when you come into spring, you think, oh, winter's over, we'll have plenty of food. But actually it can take a month or two before things restore because you know, you've nothing. And it takes time to produce things. So I have some berries and some eggs. Okay, I have fish as well, so actually things aren't looking too bad. Let's build another market. That way I won't have to switch as much between all of my sellers. Housing is continuing to upgrade and build, but very slowly. Really bottlenecked by the builders. I'm starting to regret having unlocked vegetable farms. I should have unlocked the building hut. So we've just had an eclipse, which means that my people are going to want to eat more food. So not necessarily good news. So people are going to eat more food, a lot more food for a month, which isn't great news for me, considering that I'm quite low on a few of my food supplies. It's also dark and rather hard to see. I did realize when I loaded up the save that I have forgotten to assign a worker to the pottery kiln. So the only issue here is that to make pottery, we're going to need wood, which we have very little of. So we'll go ahead and assign the workers. I'm a little bit nervous about assigning these people until we get our wood supply in order. Alright, we had a theft, so we need to double check. Do we have an issue with security? We have the potter's kiln. Okay, so that is exposed. Just a little bit too far away from keep, so let's go ahead and set a patrol. Have some patrols in the main town already from that keep, and we've only got 3 guards there. Well, we can attempt to add more patrols with the 3 guards here. They probably have some bandwidth to be able to reach this area, so let's try that. The only issue is that they'll visit the nearest patrol areas first, so if there's not enough guards to complete the patrol, they won't end up coming out here. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, the guard is visiting the potter's kiln, so that's good news. So there are enough guards there to add another patrol route. Excellent, so security issue solved. Except for these guys, where we continue to have issues with the guards leaving gaps in their shift. The only real solution to that is to either send a patrol out from the main castle the main fort. Or add maybe a second tower in this area. When we have these fishers' huts, we are going to need a second tower, so let's get started with that. I think I'll go with stone, bricks, and we'll put a wall. And the tower requires tools. Lovely. Alright, well that's not going to happen then. It's kind of a pain that I have to continually switch into dung mode. Alright, let's see if we can get something going here. So the only one that's going to give me any influence that I need, which is people influence, would be this one. But I very much doubt that I have enough things to send. So polished stone I could send 100. I only have 50 at the moment, and I can't send any actually because I have no warehouse, so never mind. So what I don't understand in this game is why I do not have any envoys visiting me. I'm obviously not fulfilled some part of the quest. Maybe it's the unlocking the warehouse that you have to fulfill. It's super annoying. The only other way I can get influence is with a bailiff, so maybe I'll try that. So what that will give us is a new set of buildings that we can use, and also extend our administration and start accumulating more authority. And I'm envisioning that eventually this will all link up to a single fort. Now, planks and stone we've loads of. Glad to see wood is doing better. See that they've already made some progress clearing away the trees here. So our only hope now is get this bailiff going. In the meantime, let's check in on our production. We have loads of compost, which is very good news. Ready for spring. Our food supplies are practically zero. In fact, we probably have a housing food shortage. So we're going to have to resort to building more poultry farms and potentially selling boar. So we've already some poultry farms in progress from a build perspective. Let's prioritize those. Let's think of some creative ways to generate some more food. Leaves caught. Offer the gems to the king in exchange for a bounty. Keep the gems for our own use. So we lose a lot of influence if we keep the gems. We get 10 influence if we give them to the king. Giving them to the king doesn't really help us at this point. We don't need any of these items to unlock at the moment. The only decision here would be if I wanted to use the gems for trading or for construction. Having 20 gems around is quite nice. But at this point, perhaps more wise to take the influence. While I'm thinking about it, now that I have an excess of gold, let's go ahead and place some gold for the dragons. So I have the dragons mod installed, which means that can be attacked by dragons. So I'll go ahead and put it out here on the tower. And when you are attacked by dragons, they want a tribute of gold or gold bars, gems, jewelry. So since I have loads of gold at the moment, I'm going to lay out 5 chests of gold, which is 500 gold coins. And each dragon that arrives will take between 3 and 5 chests. So I'd say we're well safe at the moment from dragons. Sometimes if you find that your economy is in a shambles when the dragon arrives, you are not able to pay the tribute, and that can have severe consequences, since the dragon can basically destroy half of a small village. Alright, boar is being sold like hotcakes in the market. We're starting to build up some poultry because the boar took the slot that was assigned to poultry. Since I have a surplus of labor, I'll go ahead and build yet another market stall. And we'll get someone going there and put the poultry there. So now I'll be selling every single food type that I have except bread, which I've no longer any bread coming in. So boar is holding up. Eggs is producing quite well. I'd build more chicken farms, except I don't have tools. And you do need tools to chop the heads but poultry will help. It's not as fast producing as eggs, but every little bit helps at this point. I do feel like we're starting to get ahead of the food situation. I'm starting to see these numbers creep up. The boar is not at 0 yet. Okay, we have another piece of the Lord Manor finished. Let's go ahead and assign that to... We have a choice. We can go with the Exchequer and start to build up some more authority. I think for the moment I'll house 5 villagers. So we'll start to see that populate with people who are stuck for a house. I saw that there was housing insufficient. So hopefully we can solve that issue here. And then the last building, as it's built, I will use that as my Exchequer, which will give me an authority reward of 10, which will boost me up here. I am at the point where I need to start to think about territorial expansion. Cattle are the most usable animal in terms of food. Sheep are more useful because they're versatile, but they're not as productive as a food source. And I'm mostly concerned this year with increasing my food supply, so I will unlock cattle farm, and let's just see if I need tools to build any of these. Yes, I need tools to build the barn. Now, the intensive cattle yard does not require tools, nor do the hay meadows. So what I could do is I could start to produce cattle in the yards using hay, and from a processing perspective, I can milk them without tools, but to slaughter them I need tools. So that's fine, I can milk the cows and sell the milk, or at least store the milk. Let's get started with that. So we'll start some hay meadows. So I've a little bit of room now for crops. We can start the first hay meadow quite close to the village. The other thing that I need to consider here is security. I don't have any security in this area, so it's going to be a bit tricky. Maybe what I'll do is put the first meadow here on the hill, quite close to the towers, and a second hay meadow here. So I'll just make sort of little meadows interspersed with the existing paths. And what that will get me is I won't have to build any additional security. And in addition to the meadows, then I'm going to need a pen or a yard for the cattle. So we have a bit of room here. Perhaps I could squeeze that in. Not blocking any paths. Not. Entrance is up here. We'll just squeeze that right up against the lumber area, the sawmill, and then they can redirect a path here. And that'll be nice and close to the hay meadows as well. Alright, so I found a way to make some more food without tools, which is good. We don't have the coal yard yet, so we can't produce charcoal. Charcoal is a better fuel than wood. It's much more efficient. It produces twice as much fuel, which would help our wood situation. We're using a lot of wood because we're using it directly as a fuel. Alright, we have now, I think, our Exchequer room. So we'll assign an Exchequer and we will put a table, the assistance table, inside the Exchequer's room. Build that and then assign the Exchequers. So we have the Exchequer himself and the assistants. So what these people do is they basically gather gold coins from the village center and turn those into wages for my administration. Those wages are required to pay other administrators in my retinue. But the nice thing about fulfilling this quest is that I get 10 free authority. So since we have the room, let's go ahead and build a few more rooms into this hillside. Alright, food situation is looking quite good. Poultry is producing well. We'll be into summer soon. Yep, one more day into summer, and then our vegetables will start to produce quite well. We don't have a lot of vegetable farms, but what we do have we'll use. And we need to start working on hay because hay will produce well in the summer. So it's in resting phase, so as soon as the month turns over it should get closer to sowing. We'll get some hay going. The valley is nearing full clearance, which is really great. Love to see all this open for farming. So I'm going to load the Cliffside map, but I'm going to add a mod that I just created, the Ruins mod. So I'm going to click on my save, edit mods, scroll down to the mods that haven't been loaded to the save, add Ruins, and load. Here I am in Cliffside, and I've added the Ruins mod. Luckily, no ruins have spawned here in the valley that I was hoping to develop for agriculture. There is a ruin on the hill opposite my town, and there's a few castles. Most of the ruins seem to be up here in the heights above this valley, which suits me just fine. There's a castle there, a little manor ruin there, and then a larger castle here. So at some point I will get up into those hills to harvest some ruins, as well as to build around them. And then over here there's a larger town, ruined in that highland area. A few solitary items here and there. It's like a church in the woods there. So all in all, I'm quite happy with where the ruins have spawned. Most of them are near my town, which will make them easier to harvest. So back we are into the game, and we're still stuck. We've no tools. We've no influence to get tools. And that's where we're at the moment. So no influence to unlock the trading post, which is our way of getting tools. And we've no influence to unlock the warehouse, which is another way of getting tools. So we'll have to make the best of it. We're into summer. I think we're a few weeks into summer. And we've got some territory that we own here. We need to start to develop. So from a food situation, we're back on track, but we need to take advantage of summer. Ensure that we get the maximum amount of food saved up. Now we've not been able to unlock the large vegetable farms, so we'll have to use the houses to do a bit of farming. So we're going to grow some beans from this house. Go ahead and find our little field here. Farmers going there. Now we did some work to improve my authority. So we have the Lord and the Lady, and we have the Exchequer. So now we need to take advantage of that and start to build out the council chamber. So we've got a room here, which we'll go ahead and assign as the council's assistants. A few people working there, and then we need to assign the main room as a council chamber. So this room here, council chamber. So we'll need 3 councillors in a moment. Now we've some workers who are full, so let's go ahead and get them working on this. So we'll start with the clay and thatch. Don't need clay diggers at the moment. Become councillors. Nor do we need stonemason. And we need one more, so we'll take the thatcher. Since they're not working anymore, they're full. We'll get them into the last position. Okay, and then we'll convert this to living quarters. Give all of those people a place to live, the 6 people we just employed. So, from a needs perspective, we don't have a church yet, so our religious services are down. Housing is a little bit short, but housing is looking better. Most of the houses are built. Actually, I take that back. There's probably 3 or 4 houses that are not built. We have built a load of houses down here by the dock area. So my hope is with the accumulation of authority that I'll get enough that I can expand my territory. As I'm going to need, it would be nice if I had access to this and one of these houses could grow vegetables along the shore. At the moment, these houses are a building as well, and they will have vegetable patches along here. Alright, I think I'm actually going to be able to get some influence. So, trade influence between estates. So I'm going to assert my independence, which will give me 40 influence in people and reduce my influence elsewhere, but I don't care. I need that people influence. Alright, so we finally been able to unlock the warehouse. But I just realized, I'll pause for a moment, that I painted over this area, which was meant to be a hay farm, and made it a vegetable farm. So let's think about this. Probably I need the vegetables more than I need the hay. So what I'll do is I'll remove this last hay stack. That means I have plenty here. Let's go get that other thatcher and put them to work. Making hay while the sun shines. Alright. Now, to the estates menu. So we can finally unlock some critical things. The warehouse, we need for tools. Builder's workshop, which we need to increase our building. Vegetable farms is tempting. Let's do, first though, let's work on the trading post. Then vegetable farms. Alright, so loads of things to do now. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, warehouse. Let's show our territory boundaries. So a good place for a warehouse would be centrally located, of course. Let's go ahead and use this spot here. Prioritize that, and then let's get some building huts built so that we can start to increase building speed. That's been a real issue ever since I started this village. Very annoying, actually, how slow the building has been. Really should have unlocked that at the beginning. I was trying to find a place for this. Out here by the chickens. Alright, with 4 new builders, things will start to accelerate rapidly with our house building as well as everything else. And I can see we are still stuck for wood, which is incredible, really. How much wood we are sucking in every single week and still not getting ahead of. Alright, it's time to switch the fuel monger to dung. It's just incredible. We can't seem to keep ahead of that demand. Lots of buildings, lots of houses upgrading all the time. Each one of those requiring quite a few resources. Our planks have finally produced maximum, so that will stop. That'll stop using wood there, and with the fuel monger using dung instead of wood, that will help. Just cannot believe these houses are still being built. I swear it's been a year of game time since these houses were plotted out. Those people must be very tired of sleeping in the open. Alright, so authority is roaring away now with the councillors working. You can see our council chambers produce 14 authority, so let's go ahead and take advantage of that and get some additional territory. We do have some promotions to do. I'm going to use that territory there, and we've a cabbage field here which we can expand. And then once these houses are built here, I'll use them to grow vegetables as well. Alright, warehouse. Tools. So let's unlock trade route. So this is from the mod Realistic Trading, which limits you essentially to buying from the trader only tools. So we're going to go ahead and get that going. So he won't bring more than 1 or 2 tools a week, but it will at least give us something to get started with. And in the meantime, we can start building our trading post. Tools. Excellent to see the vegetables growing out here, and we have a new house. Let's get it going on vegetables as well. Cabbages. We've now got some hay, which in retrospect I should have stored in the warehouse. No room in the inn, I'm afraid. Let's get ahead of that and start producing some cattle. Really, it would have been better to have this finished in the spring, but things were just too slow. So they're bringing hay to the cattle. These intensive farms, you basically grow the hay on the outskirts of the town, and then you can have cattle yards that take up very little space inside the town. So it sort of separates the large space requiring areas from the production area. I also like the fact that with hay, you can store the hay and produce the animals later. So it's a little bit more of an opportunity to take advantage of the seasons. If you can build up a hay supply during the fall, when hay is doing well, summer and fall, and then in the spring your animals can use that hay to produce. Alright, things are rocking right along now. We've loads of cattle being produced thanks to the season that we're in, which means that we need to start thinking about processing those cattle. So I have nothing to do that because I think I was missing the tools. I thought though that I had placed a milking pen. Let's take a look here. I guess I didn't place the milkers, so let's go ahead and do that in the same monument. I'm not too happy with the fact that this hayfield is full. We're wasting a bit there. The only alternative to clearing that is to add another warehouse, which I can do. Sort of regretting having unlocked or unblocked the stone masons, which by the way we can go ahead and give them workers again, just to get everyone employed. Alright, dung is in a situation because we've used up all the dung for fuel and compost, but it's good to get that compost stored up. Villager, and it looks like this house is finished. So let's get them going on vegetables. This open area here by the beach. See how much of that we can plant. Alright, now that we've got the prospect of getting more tools, it might behoove us as well to work on adding more fishing huts. So those take quite a few tools each though. Alright, we've our livestock farm finished over here to milk the cows. We're actually full on cows, which is incredible really. So let's get some hunters milking cows instead, make themselves useful. Which means that we're going to need to store the milk, so let's switch game to milk. Alright, we've got some cows being led into the milking pen. Bit of an overlap there with the hay farm. And the milk being taken to the granary. The milk is quite productive, and from a few cows you can get a lot of milk. You can see they're producing quite a bit of milk during this time of year. So we'll store up as much as we can, and we'll use that during the winter for food. We don't really have, right now, the wherewithal to make cheese, which is a much higher priced item at the market. But from a gold perspective, we're not in a terrible state. We've actually quite a bit of gold coming in. So a priority should be the quantity of food rather than the quality or the price. The fire started somewhere. At the moment, the fire mod can't pinpoint where the fire was. Oftentimes, if you have a fire tower, which I do, they put it out before you can even notice it. So let's hope that's the case. It would be very bad at this moment in time to have a fire, especially if any of my granaries burn down. Alright, when we started this episode, we had a very small town with very little going on. We've experienced a tremendous amount of growth. We've got our tools starting to flow into the warehouse. We've begun our first livestock farms, and next episode we'll look forward to gathering up some food and preparing for winter. Thanks for watching.